Good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a great Pesach. So we have coming ahead of us Parshas Shemini, Parsha for Shabbos right after Pesach. On this Parsha, the Balatanya Alter Rebbe writes a mimer that is connected with the sixth portion of this week's Parsha, which speaks about the kosher animals and kosher fish, kosher sea creatures. So we'll find the mimer is going to discuss a pasuk in Tilim, pasuk in Psalms 104. Verse 26, it says, Livyason ze yotsarta l'sachik boy. You created this Livyason. What is Livyason? So in Hebrew it translates to whale, but the Gemara in different sources, it speaks about a big fish. So you created this big fish, l'sachik boy, to really play with it. Frolic, play with it. So what does it mean? I'm going to see in the mimer. What is David HaMelech referencing to what Chassidus tells us about this statement? So in general, we know that the Torah says that the kosher fish have fins and scales, and the kosher animals chew their cuds, and they have split hooves. Livyason doesn't necessarily, a whale doesn't have the kosher sign of having fins. It has fins but doesn't have scales. So to see, that's where we are leaning toward the translation of big fish. Anyway, we'll see the mimer. Ita midrash rabo, Parshas Shemini, Parshas Gimel. So in Parshas midrash rabo, Parshas Shemini. Yud Gimel behemoth Livyason hem kenigon shotzadikim v'osid lovei behemoth noises Livyason v'karno v'koro Livyason noises lebehemoth v'snapiro v'neichoroi. Kenigon, first of all, let's speak about the word kenigon. Means play, some kind of a play that human beings, people used to come and tease the animals to fight each other, and they would entertain themselves. That's how they would sit there and watch two animals fighting each other. In the time of Mashiach, Hashem is going to make for the tzaddikim, the righteous people, is going to make some kind of a play between the animals. Which animals will be fighting? It would be this big fish and the behemoths, and we'll see which one, what is the fight. And regarding to this fight or this play, the pasuk says, Livyason ze yotsarta. Why did you create this big fish? What's his ultimate purpose? Is the sachik boy, is to have this play. So it's written in Gemara and Chulin. Everyone can shecht, everyone can be a shechet. Uvakol shechatim, and everything can be used for shchita. Uloilam shechatim chutz, and you can always shecht chutz mimagal kotzir, except for a sickle. Chulo ad chidush teiro meisi teitze, until the time of Mashiach. Shakadosh Baruch Hu yatir as shchita zu sheishchot Livyason zabemus napir. Hashem is going to permit another type of shchita, that this big fish is going to shecht an animal with its fins. Somehow, the big fish will be able to shecht the animal with its fins. So we have a animal fighting with the big fish, and the big fish is going to shecht it. And it's going to be kosher. So the Gemara said, Chulin 15b, HaKadosh Baruch Hu yatir al shechita zo. Hashem is going to permit this type of shechting. So it's explained in different places. Tzaddikim will eat from the meat of the animals that will be shechted by the whale. And the Midrash continues, and he asked, how is it possible that this type of shechting will be permissible? Because the snapirim, the fins, are similar to the sickle that has nicks in it. So the Midrash explains there will be a special heter, a special exemption, and it will be permissible. So when we say behemoths, what does it mean? The big fish is going to fight the behemoths. It's in plural, animals. So he writes, behemoths elu zeu inyan shirabah. What is behemoths? It's referring to the wild ox. So we have the two parties that we're talking about is the big fish and the wild ox. Shir haba. We need to understand this play, this between the big fish and Shir haba, and the wild ox. Obviously, everything has a deeper meaning, has a deeper layer. So what is the deeper layer of this play between these two giants, the wild ox and the big fish? And obviously we need to understand, why would Hashem make the exemption that this type of shechting will be permissible? There are two types of tzaddikim. One tzaddik, everything he does is hidden. Nobody knows what he does. And nobody knows that he's even a tzaddik. Shavidosum beruchnius pirush b'chavanas halev liyachid v'chudim elyonim v'chinas haliyos. The main labor is a spiritual labor. Create unions, elevations after elevations. We're going to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, like the example of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that was 13 years in the cave. That he, for sure, there was a lot of mitzvahs that he could not do. On mitzvahs ma'asiyos, physical mitzvahs, because they were sustained only from the carob tree and the well of water that was created for them. So obviously they did not fulfill the mitzvah of eating matzah on Pesach. Making kiddush, having esrog, having a sukkah, he was in the hiding the whole time. Although it was anus, it was a situation where he was forced. He was in the cave, but seemingly these drawdowns that happens when you do a mitzvah, seemingly it was missing by Rashbi. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did not have it. And it's hard to say that from above they would make it in such a way that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai would lack on these drawdowns that he could have accomplished through doing these mitzvahs. So we have to say that even in the cave, even in where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was hiding, he was able to fulfill these mitzvahs. But he fulfilled them on a different level, through the intent of his heart, contemplation, mindfulness, and through this he was able to cause all these unions in the world of Atzilut, in the world of emanation, that are connected with this mitzvahs. He was able to create these unions without actually doing the mitzvah, just by kavanah. And this type of fulfillment of a mitzvah in this type of a way for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai it was not considered a deficiency, because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai constantly served Hashem in that way, spiritually and with supernal unions. It wasn't on less on a physical level, more on a spiritual level. The Rebbe tells us the Arizal was the same thing. Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, Ari HaKodesh, so also called Lurianic. A lot of the Kabbalah is understood through his work, through his teaching. So in every generation, there are tzaddikim that their spiritual, they have primarily their work is spiritual, and there was the Arizal in his generation, and Baal Shem Tov is his generation. V'abeis and tzaddikim shem begilui. Then you have tzaddikim that it's revealed. The Avodah is revealed. Shavidosim begashmis bekibitzos masiyos. They are known the way they learn the Torah. They are known the way they do the mitzvahs, their love of God, their fear of God. The primary work, the primary labor of this tzaddikim are revealed. So we have so far two types: one that are revealed to us, and one that is not revealed to us. The hidden ones and the revealed ones. V'somachto b'chagecho. Parshas Re'ei. Shu gam ken amshoch asor eretz elyon. To be b'simcha Yom Tov. It's also amshocha. It's also a drawdown of supernal lights. Me'ad Avaye. The special days that Hashem designated as holidays. V'asimcha yagilu yon sabochu shenimshach u'mizgal. And simcha, joy, is a revelation of the infinite light that is drawn down and is being revealed. Meaning the simcha on Yom Tov is an outcome of the revelation of Ein Sof that is drawn down from above. Mayad Havai. Mayadim, the festivals of Hashem. And therefore he is joyful. It's like the simcha, the joy of a prince. The prince that came out of captivity, and he sees his father. And this amshocha, to have simcha, it has to be done through mitzvahs. You have to do something. It's written in the Gemara Psachim 109a, Shebizman habayis ein simcha ela beboso. That in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, the main simcha was through meat. Tainu mitzvah shalmi simcha, the peace offering, that had to do, the mitzvah that had to do with bringing an offering of simcha shumivim b'chol Yom Tov. This offering was brought in every Yom Tov. Shavin simcha ela b'yayin. Now we don't have the same level of simcha, of basa, of meat. Rather, we have simcha of wine. So in being more specific, the primary way to draw down godliness on Yom Tov is through the specific mitzvah that is associated with the Yom Tov. The main drawdowns on Pesach is through matzah. Shavuos is being done through the giving of the Torah. V'sukkahs are the sukkah v'lulav uminav. And what is the drawdown in sukkahs? Is through sitting in the sukkah and shaking the lulav. Without these, you can't do the hamshacha of sukkahs. If you don't sit in the sukkah on sukkahs, you missed out the hamshacha, the drawdown of sukkahs. You didn't shake the lulav, or similarly with Pesach, eating matzah, Shavuos, giving of the Torah. So far, we learned there are two types of tzaddikim. One, that their main primary job is to create unions, supernal unions, and the other type, and those that their main job is to do actual mitzvahs on a practical level, to do mitzvahs, and that's how they draw it down. So now he's going to explain that there is a need for the world. The world needs the two types of service: the spiritual one, the spiritual labor, and the physical one. And that's why there are two types of tzaddikim. V'ine be'emes ayi efshar lagia elikus isboach al d'avodah gashmius el al d'avodah ruchnius shel tzaddikim. It says when we do a mitzvah in a physical way, so although for sure we are connecting with the likus, we're connecting with the godliness, but nevertheless it's limited because it's on a physical level. So since the connection to godliness is created through a davar gashmi, through something physical and limited, then the connection is limited. And specifically the tzaddikim, that the righteous people, that the way they serve Hashem is with the supernal union. So they are the one that has the power to connect literally with godliness without any kind of limitation, without the limitation of the physical. Now, what's the name of this type of righteous people? The Alter Rebbe writes, Nunei Yama. It says in the Zohar that this type of tzaddikim are called the fish of the sea. Kedogim elu shayom echase aleim, like fish that the ocean is concealing, covering them. Ka'achem b'chinas amod discourse. So they are coming from a concealed world. These lofty neshamis are called in the Zohar Nunei Yama, and it's referring to the tzaddikim from the first type that we were talking about. Their job is primarily with the unions, the supernal unions, like we said about Hashem Baruch Chai, that he did all the mitzvahs, but he did them on a spiritual level, connecting what is for us. We do the mitzvah physically. We're hoping to that it does whatever it needs to do. Well, Hashem Baruch Chai, he knows exactly what it needs to do. He knows what type of union it creates. So he does it through his he concentrate or contemplate, and he's able to accomplish it. So these neshamas are called Nunei Yama. They are hidden tzaddikim, and the avodah is also concealed. Vatam, so what they do is hidden from everyone. Vatam shenikom Nunei Yama, and the reason why they are called the fish of the sea is like the fish that the ocean, the sea covers them, and their entire life, vitality is hidden in the sea. And similarly, the root of these neshamas are always connected to the supernal world. Without non-stop, their connection is constant. And these tzaddikim also, the Alter Rebbe tells us, they are coming from Alma Diskasya, from the concealed world. What's unique about the concealed world? The created beings that are generated from that place, they are always connected. They're always nullified to the godly source. Like the fish nullified to the water. He knows very clearly that his life is coming from the water. On the other hand, you can have people who live their lives in the revealed world, not knowing where their vitality is coming from. Every generation has hidden tzaddikim. And they are the one to connect the worlds to the Ein Sof, to the infinite light of Hashem. And that's the meaning of the word Livyason, what we translate to a big fish or a whale. Shuloshin is chabus, meaning of Livyason is to create a connection. Like as when Levi was born, Yaakov had 12 sons, so the third son was Levi. When Levi was born, his mother Leah said, I'm calling him Levi because apam ilove ishel, and now my husband will accompany me. And that's the reason why the fish, this type of fish, is called Livyason, which means an expression of creating a bond, creating a connection, creating a union. So through these unions, these yichudim, the tzaddikim are connecting these righteous people of this type. They are connecting the world to godliness. Now we're going to see the need of the second type of tzaddikim, the ones that are coming from the revealed world. This world is a physical world. Therefore, we need those tzaddikim, righteous people. That the avodah is a physical labor. That they're laboring physically to fulfill the physical mitzvahs. That's why it says in the Gemara in Chagiga 12b, Omud Echod v'Tzadik Shmei. There's one pillar. This pillar is called the righteous man. She'olav ha'olam omed. That the world is standing upon that pole. What does that mean? The rabbi is telling us that there is a pole, Amud, that the world is holding on to. That's the pole that gives the support to the world. And the kavanah, what is the meaning of it? To the tzaddikim, to the righteous people that are generated from the revealed world, the revealed tzaddikim. Because these righteous people have a connection to the revealed world. And through their work, they are bringing foundation to the world. They are supporting the world. So the Gemara in Chulin 127a tells us that whatever you find in the dry land, you will find in the sea. Because you really have to have both. So when we say we have to have both, it means you have to have sea and you have to have dry land. You have to have concealed world and you have to have the revealed world. You have to have the two types of tzaddikim, the revealed one and the concealed one. So since there is a need in both of them, they're both needed. So that means that the way they serve Hashem is also needed. The revealed type of service and the concealed one. The spiritual one and the physical one. So in this chapter we discussed that in the physical world you need to have righteous people, that they serve Hashem in a physical way and by doing practical mitzvahs. And now we're going to discuss how distant or how lofty is the way the great tzaddikim, that we call them nuneyama, those that are coming from those that are coming from the concealed world, how lofty the way they serve Hashem. When we, like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that we said that was hidden for 13 years, and Arizal, Baal Shem Tov, said the way they serve Hashem, this tzaddikim, that are called the fish of the sea, is very lofty. For example, the adogim sheshotim bayom, the fish that are swimming in the ocean. Fish, for him, swimming is natural, and in one move, he can move a large distance. He can go up, he can go down. And it's much greater. Their movement is much faster. The tzaddikim that are called Nuniyama, the tzaddikim that are coming from the concealed world, they're moving much faster than the other tzaddikim. It says that their labor is much greater than the tzaddikim that have to deal with meat, with doing mitzvahs in a physical way. When their movement is like the fish that can move from one side of the world to the other side, similarly, the way they travel spiritually, with one shot, one movement, they can reach to a lofty level. Yeah, the Livyason is the big fish, represents the great tzaddikim, represents the righteous people that their main labor is spiritual one, is concealed and it's not known to us. So the connection also to godliness with the Livyason, with this type of tzaddikim that are called the fish of the sea, is not limited, and it's much loftier than any other connection. Because as we said before, if your connection to God is only through the physical mitzvahs, then your connection is limited to the physical. Another thing is that a connection that is built on the physical is being developed one step at a time, and the connection that's built through the spiritual is like getting to the top right away. And the uniqueness of the Livyason type of tzaddikim, this hidden tzaddikim, that their primary service is spiritual, is that they can reach lofty levels in one movement, in one shot. For them, it's not a gradual process. Ve'ein ze doime klal b'vchinas istabus u'sichas domim כמו אבידס הצדיקים הנ"ל שבגשמיוס, שמחה בבוסר, שמחה ביין, וכנס כשפל של הלבס, אדר וכיוס אדום הנחס. It says another difference that we find between the great tzaddikim, the spiritual tzaddikim and the physical ones, is that the spiritual tzaddikim, those that are compared to the fish of the sea, the Livyason, their avodah their labor, the way they serve God is very calm. There's no there's no excitement, there's no fire. You don't need to see the fire for them to reach, like the famous stories of the Baal Shem Tov, that he would close his eyes, and in one moment he is already in the highest of worlds, trying to figure out what to do here, what to do there, creating solutions already in the higher world, without really seeing on him anything that is happening. So, and then you have the regular tzaddik that they have to be excited, they have to be motivated, they have to be in a state of have to be in a state of fiery love to God. All these expressions, they have to sweat, so to speak. You see them sweating, you see them laboring. And the other ones, it's very cold, it's calm. It's like compared to the fish, the way it travels, it's easy for him. You don't see him exerting any effort. With one flight, they reach to the highest places. And the Alter Rebbe then writes something interesting. He says it's not possible to explain it exactly what it is and how it is when it comes to this great tzaddikim that are compared to the fish of the sea. But he gives us the clue. more or less of what is their, how superior they are to the regular tzaddikim, to the regular righteous people. It says, therefore, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, there are certain mitzvahs that they, like we said before, eating matzah and shaking the lulav, doing all these things. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai did not do in the cave, but he did them on everything on a spiritual level. Meaning that his ability for him to draw down joy was done on a higher level. It was not through meat or wine. And this is the meaning of the fins of the whale. That he's using, obviously, the fins to move from one side to the other side. What is the fins when it comes to the tzaddikim? The Gemara Bava Basra 74b and the Zohar in various places discusses this concept, and he says the whole world, Oimed al Livyason, the whole world stand on this Livyason. Stand would probably mean that through his service he keeps the world going. And specifically, through the labor of this type of tzaddikim, the world has its connection with godliness. The true connection to godliness is being done through this type of tzaddikim. But also, in the time of Mashiach, it says in the time of Mashiach, there will be a play, there will be a fight between the big fish and the wild ox, the animal. So, obviously, we said before, it represents two types of tzaddikim. Now, one is going to shech the other. The big fish is going to shech the ox, and this shchita is going to be exceptionally kosher. It says the work, the service of the regular tzaddikim is called a level of shirabo, or a wild ox. What is an ox? Ox is generated from the left side, and it gives life to the image of the ox is giving life to all the animals. But the way they're coming down, they're very coarse, and there's a mixture of good and bad. But through the tzaddikim, you're creating shirabah. What is shirabah? You're making it pure. Like we say, bar levov, bar vazach, which means that you're taking something that has a lot of potential for good and bad, and you now are using it primarily only for good. So you elevated it. You created shirabah. Instead of an ox that can be used for negative, you're only using it for positive use. And this is with the tzaddikim, the righteous people that are connected to this world, to the revealed world. That you elevate through their work, you're elevating and refining and purifying the physicality of the world. Even the tzaddik, that the second type of tzaddikim, those that are connected with the animals, so to speak, says it is the way he served God. For example, v'samachta b'chakecha, when the Torah commands us to be joyful on Yom Tov, and we said the simcha is primarily through meat and wine. It says it's not to be understood on the simple level that he eats meat of an ox to fill his stomach, God forbid, and that creates joy. So what does it mean, Lois? That through elevating the physical meat to God, to godliness, it arouses spiritual joy in him. So to him, the process for a tzaddik, eating is not for the sake of eating. For him, eating is for the sake of elevation. So since he's capable of elevating, he ate a little piece of meat. And he knows that he now elevated this meat because said bracha and the energy used, the energy provided by the food is being used solely to godliness, then it creates joy by the tzaddik. He knows that he accomplished what needed to accomplish. It creates joy. Like the Yom Tov offerings that were called the Shlomim, the peace offerings of joy, and it was from physical meat. It was a meat that created pleasant aroma, mamash la Hashem, pleasant aroma to God. Similarly with the meat and the wine of Yom Tov. So what does vismechu b'cho? That the simcha is in Hashem, is not in the meat. The meat is just a tool to bring about the joy in Hashem. It's a davening that we say in Yom Tov. And then ve'ismechu b'cho, that the simcha should be in you, is not in the physical things like the meat and the wine, rather is the simcha in Hashem. And this simcha is aroused, this joy is aroused by elevating the meat, elevating the wine. But we're saying it as an expression of request. We're requesting because the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed and we don't have the Shalmi Simcha, which is a korban that brought a pleasant aroma to God. So we have to ask. We have to ask that our simcha in basar and yain, meat and wine, will be in such a level that that our joy will be truly in you, not in the plate. And that's called the wild ox. Miloshen ba'lev pirush basar zachuva. And this is truly, if you eat for the purpose of elevation, then the meat becomes sher habo, it becomes basar zach, it becomes pure meat and clean, something that can be elevated. Dainu simcha la'avaya, you have a true simcha, true joy in Hashem, anoilad mize berish perish v'itlavus, that is being created through excitement, through fiery love. Ela she'af al pichen milta zutrose legab elu chanif chassidic manikom Livyason. Fishebo midav v'gashu bagbo. It says still this is small change, this service in comparison to the service of the great tzaddikim, those righteous people that are called the fish of the sea. Why? Their traveling, their movement, their flow, one shot, bekrirus, with coldness, with calmness, uvenachas, they can reach higher and higher. This is infinitely greater. And that's why the big fish is going to slaughter the wild ox. What does that mean, to slaughter it? So that Yisrael is going to elevate the regular tzaddik. Through his flight, he's going to take him together with him. It's like getting a ride on the dolphin. I have been on a dolphin ride. So you can go on his back and the swim will be much faster.
I didn't do it.
And this is with its fins. Primarily with the fins, that's how the fish travels. This is something that is higher, something that does not exist with the regular tzaddikim that are called, the regular righteous people that are called wild ox. The flight is going to happen primarily with these fins, something that does not exist by the regular righteous people. So when you say shechita, shechting, according to Kabbalah, is elevating, something that's being elevated from below. Why? Why? Because you're not allowed to eat the animal on a simple level. You're not allowed to eat the animal unless you shecht it.
Right.
So the shechting is really turning it from a non-kosher to kosher. You're not allowed to go and bite a piece of meat or cut a piece of meat, God forbid, from a living animal. So shechting is koshering it, elevating it.
So in effect, you're doing it a favor.
So and similarly with shechting the wild ox through the Livyason, through the big fish, that the big fish is elevating the ox, and we're going to infuse in it something that it doesn't have. We said in truth, the wild ox is going to elevate, going to bring about elevation in the big fish as well. How is it going to happen? Says because they have some superiority. The wild ox, the tzaddikim, the righteous people that are serving Hashem through the physical world, have some superiority and advantage over the righteous people that are primarily serving Hashem in a spiritual way. So in our language, we're going to say that the Shir Habo has something that the Livyason doesn't have, which would mean that there is the regular tzaddikim has some kind of advantage over the lofty tzaddikim, those who serve Hashem primarily with the unions, creating spiritual unions. Because that's what the Torah is commanding us, to be joyful in the Yom Tov. And how the simcha is being done through meat and wine. So on this aspect, the physical aspect that the Livyason, the great tzaddikim, are missing, they are going to be also elevated through the regular tzaddikim. So there is an advantage to avodah gashmis, to the physical work, and this does not exist with the great tzaddikim. So they will also be elevated. When they elevate, when the Livyason, when the big fish elevates the Shir Habor, he also elevates. He's being elevated as well. Like we're saying, Moshe Rabbeinu elevates the Jewish people. So through him elevating the Jewish people, he's being elevated as well. He benefits from the elevation as well. So the great tzaddikim, although they are much superior to the other tzaddikim, in terms of their movement, in terms of their service, everything is being done on a higher level. But they're going to be elevated as well. So the Shir Habor can also elevate the Livyason, the whale, the big fish. וזה ירא הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות לובי, או ירא. וזה ירא הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשות לובי צדיקים כלולוס אבידוסם בעלמא. Hashem is going to show, in the time of Mashiach, Hashem is going to show the tzaddikim klolus avidosim in general, all the work that they did in this world, in this lifetime. Shishneim ke'echad tov, and both of them are good. Behai odif u'behai odif. One has certain things that he is advantageous over the other, and one has certain things that is advantageous over the other. Each one has its own greatness. So the tzaddikim that are on the level of Livyason, those that are coming from the concealed world, will elevate to their level the tzaddikim that are wild ox, and at the same time, the tzaddikim that are called Shir Habor will elevate the tzaddikim that are called Livyason. And now you can see, it will be revealed the mila, the greatness of each one. So then we are left with the question, how is it that this type of shechting, that the whale is, the Livyason, the big fish, is going to slaughter the ox with its fins? we said the Gemara in Chulin tells us everything, all shechita is kosher except the shechting with a sickle, because of its nicks. And we explained that with the fins is similar to the sickle. והנה Livyason איש שחית אשר רבו בסנפיר אך שכיום שחיתה כזו פגום גמורי, today it's considered a non-kosher shchita. Chamas ha'efsek, because of the separation. אבל לא עושה צורך להיות כן דווקא. But in time of Mashiach, it needs to be specifically this type of shchita. Not that in general, but in that specific situation, this knigi, in this play that will take place, time of Mashiach, might be speedily nowadays, that would be a kosher situation. Today is not kosher. Time of Mashiach needs to be done in such a way. Why? We just said before, the shchita is elevation. And so it's hefsek bin time, you have to have hefsek. You can't have all the elevations one shot. You can't take somebody from the first floor to the 100th floor in one shot. He goes through the second, the third. He goes gradually to the highest floor. Imagine they would create an elevator that has a cannon, it has a missile, and it would shoot you to the...
But in the big buildings, they got the elevators that go from 1 to 80 and then whatever.
Oh, they just go fast, right?
Right.
You don't feel it, but they go fast. But imagine it will shoot you up there. You have, I don't know what happened to you, bust your ears.
Yeah.
In a fire, even a fire jet, the jet planes, they still, they start from low. They don't start from, they have to start from somewhere. They go faster, but they still go through the, can't jump the worlds like this tzaddikim. They're not, although they're living in this world, but they're higher than the worlds.
On Pesach, it's a jump. We're jumping.
Right.
We're going through the limits.
Exactly. So you have to have this hefsek, this segment is expressing a gradual growth. You can't have all the elevations in one shot. It's written in Zohar, there's many chambers. The chamber of merits, the chamber of will. You can't jump all in one shot. There has to be some kind of a separation between one chamber to the next. That's why Hashem is going to allow this nick, having this pgima, having this blemish in the knife, so to speak, in the fins. So this elevation for the Sheyabor, the regular tzaddikim, will experience the highest elevation. And for them, they need it to be done gradually. So every time they are being elevated to a level, they have to stay there for a little while until they get to the next one. They stay there for a little while, unite with it, and then they can go to the next one. And that's why Hashem is going to permit this type of shechting, because this type of shechting represents a level that represents the mode of being elevated, digesting it, uniting with it, and then going into the next one. So to speak, a cooling period. It says the wild ox will elevate the big fish is by stabbing it with its horns. So the Sherabo, this wild ox, is going to stab the whale with its horns. So what is the elevation that the big fish is going to benefit? שיש בו לעניין לא שיעל לוויוסן שבו שיבס לפיל ודאו כך גם לעניין לא שיעל שובס של הזם די כמו שיעדי קל. Why? Because the horns of the ox are emphasizing its greatness. It's a karne reim karno, that specifically the horns have the power to elevate the Livyason, representing the castle, to the crown, to the wisdom, to the chokhmah, and the roots of. It says that the roots of severities is the face of the ox, but the horns are representing a higher level. So the point is that the elevation is going to take place to the whale, to the big fish, through the horns of the ox. There's an explanation in the Likutei Torah where it explains that it says in the Gemara, Ragle achayis keneged kulon, the image of the feet of the chayis, which is referring to the angels, corresponds to all. Ad habechina yesugu karne achayis. And then it says over there that the karne, the horns of the chayis, is even higher, and karne achayis, the horns of the animals, is connected with kesser, with the crown, with the wheel, with the inner level. Shin tzimchim agogol is something that comes out of the skull, come outside, out of the head, and through this, the Livyason is connected with chokhmah ubina be'rakes shemaylam. So it says v'aldezi agbius Livyason shemichokhmah ubina be'rakes shemaylam chokhmah. So therefore, the elevation that the big fish is going to benefit from this struggle, from this fight, is that it will be elevated to a level that is higher than chokhmah. Buchim Tiyuh will continue, God willing, in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, with a Gemara class, and tractate Shabbos, tractate Sota. Just take a short break for davening.
You know, there's in Minnesota they had a